everyone. Well, welcome back, Shay. Glad you could join the party. I took a week off last week from filming and doing stuff because we've got a lot going on for us personally and with our home and stuff. So I had a lot of stuff to do. And then I'm also very stressed out for some reason, like unlike I've ever been before. And so something very interesting happened last week. I completely popped a blood vessel in my eye, so my whole eye was bloodied. And then I couldn't really see out of it. It was kind of painful. I had dealing with migraines all last week. And then as you can see, my skin is still freaking out. So I thought, you know what, Shay? I'm gonna take a week off from filming just because, I really didn't want to put makeup on my eye and really didn't want to wear makeup in general just because my skin and everything's been reacting. So anywho, that's why I didn't film last week. But this week, this video, I'm only doing one video for the next couple weeks each week because it's just, like I said, I got a lot of moving parts. So this week's video, as you can tell by the title, is about I thought I'd talk about my nightmare surgeries. So I've had a lot of surgeries in my life and I'll go over them, some quicker than others. And I'll just let you in a little bit more and we'll discuss that. And then I hope that my story can help somebody else. So if you want to hear all about my crazy nightmare freaking surgeries, stay tuned. Okay, quick sidebar, by the way. So they had a Sephora savings event, as everybody pretty much knows that. Twice a year you can save money. Well, because I have been buying my little ass off past, few months doing this channel and just kind of getting out there again, I really didn't need much. So there was a palette that I was eyeballing for the life of me. And that's this Natasha Denona palette, the Bloom palette. I wanted this so bad, and I just was like, do I want to spend $70 on this palette? No, I did not want to spend $70 on this palette. No offense, Natasha, but I'm just saying. So eventually when this came around, I was able to get this. And then I also got the Fenty, the new like lip oil. Fenty, it looks like their other gloss bombs, but this one's actually a lip oil. And I got the really pretty iridescent color and it's called Miss Jellyfish. So these two are the ones that I bought from this Sephora savings event and a couple other things. And that was it. Cause I was like, bruh, I am not a Rockefeller. I cannot keep spending all this money when I got other shit to do. So anywho, I've already prepped my face. I'm gonna kind of go off camera real quick and prep my eye just because it's still kind of weird and I just don't want to, I want to focus on it. So I'll be right back after I prime my eyes. Please hold. Okay, so I went ahead and primed my eyes and I'm already primed my face. I'm actually gonna start with my brows today, which I never do. I don't know why I'm stepping out of my box. But I'm actually gonna use this. I bought this Infallible Brows by L'Oreal. It's supposed to be better than the Benefit one that I always use, and everybody had a lot to say about the Benefit one, so I'm gonna try it out. I don't know, if not, then I'll go back to my old crusty dusty Benefit and deal with, not that they're crusty dusty, but mine is. So we'll try this. Let me turn this fan off. Okay, so let's get started talking about my surgeries. Now, I wrote them down because literally I've had close to 15, so I've had 14 surgeries. I'm not proud of it. But it is what it is at this point in my life, and my body has definitely been through a lot of trauma. And at this point, I really try not to have surgeries if I don't, absolutely need them, just because my body reacts so weirdly to stuff. But it's part of my reasons that I have such a crazy makeup now. Like my body has really suffered a lot of trauma. And so now my body kept the score and now my body's reacting crazy. Okay, so let's start with 2000, the year 2000. And while I'm doing that, this is the Natasha Denona Bloom palette. Look how beautiful these colors are. Ugh. I know they might not look like much. They look very neutral on this, but they're gorgeous. And I'll do some swatches on my arms just to show you, but I'm gonna do a cute little halo eye today because, why not? Anyways, so let's start from the very beginning. I have always been a big girl, like always, since I was a little girl, or since a baby, really. If you looked at all my baby pictures, maybe I'll put some in, I'm not sure. But I've always been a big girl. My big girl transferred into big adult, and I was, I was overweight, and at the time, I really wanted to do something about it, but honestly, I walked all day because where I worked and stuff, and the weight was just not coming off. So I was just like, okay. So I decided to look up, and I'm talking like Yellow Pages look up, because we had to literally go through the Yellow Pages. And there was one doctor in Phoenix that was doing gastric bypass surgeries, but these were on the cutting edge of them, like not to where they were new. They were just switching up the procedure style. And so what they were doing was it's called a complete Roux-en-Y. And so they gut me like a fish, and then they take out 10 feet of my intestine, my small intestine. Then they reattached it and they cut out my stomach to where it was an ounce. They stapled it off to where it was only an ounce big, which in theory already sounds traumatic, but it was just, that was like very, very like dramatic a way to go about losing weight, which is what I was desperate at that time because I didn't want to be fat anymore. Right? I was just like, I don't want to go through this anymore. I want to be healthy and skinny. And I had already dealt with this my whole life. And so what happened was I ended up going forth with the surgery. And immediately, it was very, it went awful, honestly, if I'm being honest. Everything that could go wrong with it went wrong. Mind you, my doctor at the time was about 172 years old, so I probably should have known better. But he was really the only one doing it at the time. And so, and he took my insurance, and so it was like, it just was like, okay, I don't care. I just want it done. And it wasn't because of him. My body just rejected everything. The staples, like it started having issues. So I had to have some revisions done there. So, but what happened was, is it really shocked my system in a way that my body started reacting differently to foods, which they tell you that's normal anyways, like sugar is going to be an issue for you. They tell you all kinds of stuff. Like you have to go, this wasn't an easy decision. Like you have to go through therapy, you have to go through group meetings, retraining, nutrition. So it's not like it's an overnight success kind of thing. And I hate that people think that because it's definitely not the case. You have to do a lot in order to even get the surgery and qualify for it. So I did my due diligence and the surgery just didn't go well for me. I had a lot of issues. And over the years, I've always had severe issues with it. To where I would throw up constantly. So people thought I was like, bulimic. And they were like, why is she always constantly getting sick? A lot of people like question things that are going on with me. But anywho, I had the surgery. Moving on. It went terribly. I've been dealing with that ever since. I lost a lot of weight though. I lost 180 pounds and I'm like a whole person. And I'm, it is what it is. So moving forward, in 2001, remember I told you I had a lot of knee issues from getting hit by a car with my brother? Well, I had a full ACL and lateral meniscus reconstruction with cadaver. I had to have somebody else's cartilage put in my body. So my body, of course, was like, abort, who is this? What is going on? So I had reaction to that. And it was kind of a botched surgery anyways. So again, went terribly for me. And I ended up being locked kneed for 6 weeks. So my leg was in a straight brace for 6 weeks. Instead of like working it out or anything, it just stayed locked in that position. And so many other issues started happening with that. And I was just like, shit. Anywho, so I started physical therapy for that and blah, 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 moving on. My leg was just never the same. So 2002, I went back in because they had to do a little bit of a correction to my knee. And that was my third surgery. 2004, I decided, because I lost 180 pounds, even though I was sick as a dog, I decided I wanted to have some cosmetic surgery done. So I had the flabby Oprah arms and I had, my breasts were huge before, and then I lost all that weight and I literally went from like a double D to an A cup. Except it wasn't a cute A cup to like where you're like, your skin sits cute and perky. No, they were like empty socks. So I was like, okay, I gotta do something about this. So I had complete breast lift with augmentation. I had 550 cc's put in each breast. I had a complete, it's called brachioplasty. So I had my arms completely revised from my elbow to underneath my breast right here. And they were nice and tight. But that's also why I have this little issue right here, because he did it too tight on this side and it did this weird fold. Again, because my body was like, F you, Shay. Like, what the hell? Why are you always trying to make us do shit? So that's fun. Um, Moving on though, about I was in a relationship at the time, and about I think 8 months after my breast surgery, I became pregnant, and well, it was shorter than that. Anyways, I got pregnant and I got in a really bad car accident, and I didn't know the baby died. So 2 weeks later, I had an appointment, and when I got to the appointment, the baby had died. And at that point, okay, my math's not mathing. At that point, I was almost 7 months pregnant. So I had to basically give birth, and they did a D&C and all that. And so it was a very traumatic surgery again. And I became really sick, and I started bleeding, of course, but I bled for 7 months straight. I became severe anemic, and I was very, very sick. And the doctor told me, like, you're not going to be able to have kids anyways. Why don't we like do something about this? So then I went in for another innovative surgery called endometrial ablation surgery, where they basically laser out the lining of my uterus, and it stops your periods. But in order to do that, I had to have a tubal, like, so I had to tie my tubes. So, which was fine because I knew at that point I wasn't going to be able to have any more kids. Now, mind you, this isn't my first D&C. I've had miscarriages, so I struggled with fertility after that, and to my own accord, you know what I mean. So it's like, anywho, so I had the endometrial ablation surgery, and everything went great. Honestly, it went great for like 10 years. It was chef's kiss, no periods, no nothing, and it is what it is. So that I had in 2005. In 2006, I decided to have a tummy tuck. I hope you're buckled up for this tummy tuck. So not only did my tummy tuck go completely fucked up, I went necrotic in the middle of my stomach. So, and if those of you who don't know what necrotic means, it means the skin and the blood flow stopped flowing, so the skin died. So I had a huge black spot right at the pelvic area where like a C-section scar would go, and it. I'm laughing because it's just like I'm remembering these things and I'm traumatized all over again. So I had the tummy tuck. It went awful. I kept calling them. I'm like, something is burning. I am like, my body's on fire. And they're like, okay, bring her back in. Let's look at your sutures. Well, when they unbandaged me, when they found out I was necrotic, not only was I necrotic, I had a severe allergic reaction to the sutures. So my whole body, or my whole scar, had a bright red ring around it, and it was welted and blistered. And I knew I was in pain, but I couldn't really feel so much of it. A lot of it was numb, but I was itching like a mug, and I was crying. That's how bad it was itching. Like if I can't even describe the itch. They were like, okay, so they had to give me medication to basically stop this. It was a steroid to help me stop the itching and everything. And they're like, just keep track of it, blah, blah, blah. Then I went back, and they knew that that part was necrotic. So they cut that part out. And I was moving to Vegas at the time because I'd already lived in Vegas and here. So I was driving back and forth. But this is when I was permanently moving to Vegas. So I was like, okay, I'll come back for my appointments, which my appointment was like another month away, like my follow-up. I was like, I'll come back for that. So I went to Vegas. I was doing my thing. And then my mom came in to visit me, and I was having a lot of issues with my stomach, but like it looked like I was pregnant. My stomach was just swelling. But I was like, well, maybe I'm doing too much because we were, doing partying and stuff at the time. I'm like, maybe I'm doing too much. Maybe I need to chill out or calm down. Anyways, my mom came into town, and she was like, what the hell is going on with your stomach? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, she's like, it looks like you're 6 months pregnant. And I'm like, I know. She's like, no, Shay, that's not okay. So she's like, you're going back with me tomorrow. So she booked me a flight, and we got on, and I got back to the office. I don't even think I was supposed to be flying at the time, honestly, but she was so desperate to get me back quickly. And sorry, I had itch. So I get back to his office for an immediate or emergency office appointment. And when he lays me on the table, he goes, oh my goodness, yeah, you're swollen. And my stomach was hot. It was so hot. I was on fire. He was like, I think you have an infection. He goes, lay down and let me go in and like start cleaning it out in this area and we'll go from there. I was like, okay. I was fine because it didn't really hurt so much. It was just like annoying and it itched and my stomach was hot, like very hot. And you could tell my stomach was super infected. So I lay on the counter, I mean, on the bed, excuse me. My mom's sitting in the chair, like across from the bed. And he takes those long Q tips, right? The long Q tips. And he goes to scope it and clean it. And my stomach popped down there. Like that hole popped like a blister. In all, I hope this is like not too much. I'll put a disclaimer. Um, all this pus, like not like a little bit, like you could fill a Stanley cup. Pus is running everywhere, down my area, down the table, onto the floor. And my mom freaked the hell out. She was like, what the, like she lost it. And the doctor's like, ma'am, you're not helping. He's like, I need you to go out and wait. She's like, I'm not leaving my daughter. And so it got crazy. But he was like, he called in, and her name, she was so cute. She was so cute, this lady. Her name was Lady. She was the office manager. He screams for her name. He's like, Lady, get in here. And so she comes in and she's like, oh, oh no. So he's like, prep the OR because he had an in-room, in office surgery center. He's like, prep the OR. We got to get her in the ER immediately. So I'm like, oh shit, my mom was freaking out. I'm not really freaking out because at least I know something it wasn't just me, like something else was going on. So anyways, we get me prepped, we get in there and lady's like, are you freaking out? I'm like, no, I'm not freaking out. She goes, I would be freaking out. I'm like, bitch, that does not help. You are the office manager. Like, I need you to be on my side. She's like, do you want the Twilight? And I was like, no, because I don't do well with anesthesia. So the least amount of anesthesia I can get, I would appreciate that. And she's like, okay. And so then he comes in, he goes, we're gonna go ahead and have to do emergency surgery. And he's explaining to me everything. They gotta go in and reconstruct and clean it out and irrigate it and all the things, right? So I'm like, okay, fine. So, anyways, when I wake up, and I now have tubes sticking out of my pelvic area, but lower, and drains and drain bulbs or whatever. And I had to wear those for 2 weeks, I think it was. But the fun part was because they had to scope so much area out of that infected area, they had to cut a lot of pieces out, I guess. That's the best way to describe it. I had a huge, like this big, hole in the bottom of my stomach. So for 9 months, and this is not even a funny fucking joke, 9 months, I had to pack it every single day with saline and gauze. And then at night, rip it out and replace it. Because what that does, it was like basically creating a smaller and smaller scab, but it also kept it clean. And I had to get all these supplies and had to keep going back to see him for 9 months. And then finally, excuse me, when it healed, I have a huge crater at the bottom. So my tummy tuck scar is, and then in the middle, there's like this, looks like the Grand Canyon in my stomach. So nightmare number 22, I feel at this point. It was just awful. I should have known better. So anyways, moving on. 2016. So basically that was 2 tummy tucks, if you think about it, because they had to basically go in and revise and redo it and all that. So 2016, I ended up having a lot of knee issues with my knee, obviously. And so I end up having to go in again for surgery because I was having issues walking. And I was like, what's going on with my knee? Well, turns out I'm osteoarthritic, bone on bone in my left knee, and they want to go in because my patella is completely split in like 7 different pieces, and I have a lot of floating cartilage in there. So there's not really much they can do at this point for me. They're saying, they're like, being that how severe it is, we really can't do much for you because you need a full knee replacement at this point. But you're way too young to go through that because it's a brutal surgery and you'll have to have it redone every 10 to 20 years. And at this point, I've already started gaining weight back because of all kinds of reasons. That's a story for another damn day. I just can't go into those. But I started gaining weight back. And so I was like, so basically they're like, every 10 years because of your weight, you'll need to have this done. And I'm like, oh, super. Sounds so fun. So they wouldn't do it. And I begged. Trust me, I begged several different doctors, but they wouldn't do it. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm just dealing with this pain. And that was in 2016. And then they were like, well, you can go in and do a floating cartilage revision. So they go in and basically take all the floating cartilage out so it helps relieve some of the pressure in my knee. And sorry. So I was like, okay, I opted for that. And I ended up getting that done. And then I was a little bit better, but honestly, there was really a lot of pain still. And that's just pain that I live with naturally because of my knee. That'll never be fixed until I get a full knee replacement. Or, the AI just designs a pill we can take that just regenerates a knee. That'd be amazing. Like the starfish pill or something. I don't know. I'm waiting for that. But that's where I'm at with my leg. My leg is still jacked up. I'm still osteoarthritic and bone on bone, and I got a lot of issues with my leg. So it even hurts to swim. Like it hurts to do a lot of things. So it's just really messed up. But that's the life I live right now, which is fine. I've been used to that. Okay, so 2017, I have been dealing with. Oh no, I gotta rewind. I gotta rewind. So I don't remember what year it was, but it was so maybe 2010, 2011. Not only did my period come back, it came back with vengeance. What had happened was, is one day I had been cramping all night, like a weird cramp, but I was in pain. And I told my husband, I was like, something's not right. And he was like, what do you mean? And I'm like, I don't know. It just, something doesn't feel right. And he was like, okay. He's like, you good? And I'm like, I mean, I'm fine for now, but I don't know what it is. So we go to Circle K and I was getting a drink, and all of a sudden, something felt like a rubber band snapped inside of my body. And then the floodgates were open. All this blood is rushing down my leg. And I'm like, what the hell? I thought I was going to die. And so we rushed me to the ER. And after several hours being there, they were like, oh, well, basically what happens is endometrial ablation is not 100% fail proof. Like this failed, and it came back. It was just buildup that had been in there. So they're like, well, a good thing you came in because that could have been you could have turned septic, you could have got sick from an infection, all these things. And I'm like, super, that's great for me. I love that for me. So I had my period for a long time, but then it came back. Like when I say it came back with vengeance, it was brutal. It wasn't like a regular period anymore. It was a crime scene. It was painful. I was crippled over. Now, when I tell you I have the highest tolerance to pain known to man, I have like the weirdest tolerance. Like I can tolerate anything. I gave all natural birth. Like I wasn't doing that bad. I just have a really high tolerance pain because I'm in pain all the time. But the periods I was having, I could not even function. I was just in so much pain. And they were just nervous again. I became anemic again. So they were like, look, what you really need is a hysterectomy. But here's what the fun fact was. Because I had so much scar tissue down there, because of all the shit that happened with my tummy tucks, they wouldn't do it. So I went to Mayo Clinic. I went to several different doctors. So I ended up not being able to get a hysterectomy or anything done. I just had to deal with it for like 6 or 7 years. I think it was 7 years. I don't remember those exact dates. Finally, I met this wonderful doctor named Dr. Deborah Wilson here in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I went in to meet her, and I was nervous because I thought she was going to be yet another doctor that was going to turn me away, because I had 3 so far that had turned me away from giving me a hysterectomy because they were just nervous to do it with all the scar tissue. And she was cocky as shit. I mean, not the best bedside manner, because she was just like full on cocky. But she's like, yeah, I can do it. It'll take me like an hour and 40 minutes. That's how long the procedure is, and you'll be done. And we keep you overnight, and then bada boom, bada bing, you're good to go. And I was like, is that a real thing? Like I was nervous that she was lying to me, because I was like, is that it? Because if that's it, I'm in. And turns out that was it. So in 2017, I had a partial hysterectomy. We kept my ovaries. And it was literally just that. Like I was in and out, and then went to the overnight stay. I was out the next day, and my life has been different ever since. Blessed, blessed, blessed is the word I would use. I don't always like recommend like you should get a hysterectomy. I'm just saying it was the right thing for me. And I was nervous that it was going to go real bad because of all the other surgeries. But at this point, I had nothing to lose. So it actually is the only surgery I've ever really had that's been amazing. So she was fantastic. I don't know what kind of sorcery she has in her hands, but I love her. God bless her. Moving on. Here's the whammy. While I finish my makeup, I'm going to do some stuff and I want to come back and talk to you about this final surgery that I've had and why it's so important to me and why I felt like this hopefully can help somebody out there. Please hold. I'm just using white eyeliner. I don't think I'm going to use any liner at the top because I want the halo to do its own thing. Sidebar, whose lashes are these? I've been dedicated and diligently using my lash serum, and I already had pretty good lashes, but these ones are, whew. Okay. Hanger. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and see my eye it still keeps watering. I'm gonna put a picture up to show you what my eyeball looked like. It was crazy. Okay, so the last and final surgery that I've had to date, and I pray I don't have to have any more, besides dental, was in 2022. I told you guys that I've had a complete augmentation a breast lift with augmentation. But that happened in 2004, right? 2004. What I didn't tell you is how messed up that surgery went. I didn't tell you the story of the surgery because I wanted to wait till the end. So, fun fact, when I had my boobs done, immediately, it happens immediately. I don't know why my body hates me. My body rejected the implants. And when I say rejected the implants, I wish I could show you pictures, but then I'll get shut down. So I'm using Ardell lashes, so I'm just gonna keep going. My body tried to push out the implants. So my breasts busted open like this, busted open on the sides. I mean, in the middle, right down the middle where the scar was, and tried to push out the implants. Now, as traumatic as that was, I went back to my doctor and I said, the fuck? Because what's happening? Looked like I was trying to birth the implants through my breast. So he was like, okay, well, happens to a small percentage of people. So he goes, in order to fix it, he goes, I'll give you local, which is just like numbing you versus putting me under again. And they kind of sewed me back up. Well, actually, they had used staples. He stapled me back up. And he said, hopefully this will stay, blah, blah, blah. Well, it did. It lasted. It stayed. Unfortunately, I looked like a burn victim down there. Like it looked, if you picture the anchor scar, if the breast, and you picture the scar going down the breast like this, that was completely busted open. So the scar, all this scarring right here, looked like somebody had burned me. And it scarred like that permanently. It was awful. And the implants never really fell right. And I cannot tell you, I thought that I was a crazy human being. I thought I was losing my mind. I thought I'm a hypochondriac. I thought, I don't know what's going on. My husband was like, I think you might be a hypochondriac. I think something is wrong in your head. And I've honestly had a doctor tell me that. They're like, are you sure this isn't all in your head? And I'm like, I had everything that you think went wrong. Like my body started shutting down. They thought I had autoimmune disease. So I went to a naturopath. I got all this complete testing and labs and everything. And every single time it would come back, they're like, damn, we really thought you had an autoimmune disease, but you don't, you're good. Damn, we really thought this was the answer, but it's not, you're good. Damn, we might thought this would, I can't tell you, for years I went through that going, why is my body hating me? Why is my body acting this way? I would get weird shaking. I would get I started becoming severely allergic to foods. I couldn't eat pork and beef anymore because when I would eat it, it felt like my body was passing glass through it. I started, becoming allergic to almost fucking everything. I was just allergic to so many things at that point. My body was just shutting down and I was gaining the weight back because I was constantly dieting, but it wasn't working. And it was just a nightmare. And there's so many things that went wrong that I just can't think of right now because I really have tried to put that behind me. But I'll tell you what saved my life. And I wish I could kiss this girl so much when I see her one day, because I will. But there's a YouTuber on here. I was watching YouTube one day and she was very sick. But she's really a pretty popular YouTuber. And she was talking about all her symptoms. And at first I didn't realize what she was talking about. And I was like, God, I have all those issues too. What is she talking about? And then I like paid attention, and she had had her breasts done, and they were a nightmare for her too. So she went to a doctor in Las Vegas, and she was like, something's not right, because she was having like seizures almost. She was having a lot of issues. And I mean, I was having extreme hair loss, extreme skin rashes. I would get like a lot of different things. And so I was like, what's going on? So I do some research, and it turns out, and I believe this wholeheartedly, and I will argue somebody down till they're blue in the face. It's called breast implant illness. So a lot of women suffer once they get these implants in. They start having like all kinds of issues, and it really attacks their body in a way to where their body starts shutting down. But why it does that is because your body is trying to constantly heal from having something so toxic in your body that it focuses all its energy on that. And then the rest of your body kind of suffers, if that makes sense. Well, it made sense to me because every single thing that she named, I was like, oh my God, except for the seizures. I didn't get the seizures, but I got the migraines. There was a list. My teeth were falling out. There was so many things. And yes, I know that can be from other things and other surgeries that I've had, and other surgeries can be very traumatic to this whole process too. But my breasts were constantly in pain. They never dropped properly. They sat encapsulated, what means the muscle kind of grew so tight around it that it didn't allow them to lay properly. So they sat up high the whole time. They didn't go well. I had hyper sensitivity to them. Like if you blew on them, I was like, don't touch me. It was just a lot. So I started doing my own research. I'm almost positive that I have this, and every doctor so far is telling me I'm cuckoo, which was pissing me off even more. And that was happening to millions of women. So I belonged to forums. I started like doing my research and connecting with these women, and everybody had very similar stories. We were all sick for several different reasons. With all these things, but we didn't know the reason. There was nothing. Like the doctors kept coming back. You're perfect bill of health. You got this, you got that. And even though I felt like I was dying inside. So I was like, maybe I am mental. And that made me even more mad because I really did go seek help, because I thought at the time, am I making this shit up? Am I like making the pain up? Is that weird? But I wasn't. So I found an amazing doctor finally after years and years and years of research and trying to get this done. I found an amazing doctor here in Arizona, and they're part of a network. And he was the kindest human. He was so sympathetic, empathetic to what we were going through as women, and he wanted to help. So he became like one of the only network of doctors that focused specifically on this type of surgery, of removing the encapsulated and scar tissue and all these things, because that's basically what it is. I ended up having those removed and had a little bit of a revision because the way he cut it and took care of me in November 5th of 2022. And he said, I immediately, I started to feel a little better. Like the whites of my eyes were changing. I wasn't as much as in a fog anymore. My body was still healing and processing. And even a year later, I was still like detoxing, but my body started doing a lot better. I just can't explain it. And people could say it's in my head or whatever. I still have a lot of issues. And when I get stressed, this is happening. I thought it was from the vitamin C. Well, it started with the vitamin C, but then like I kept scratching it. And then as I got stressed, it got worse. So it's a whole thing. But yeah, so she really helped save my life or turn my life around for the better. So my message is to people out there, if you have something going on in your body and you feel 100% in your soul that something is not right, trust your gut. Because I had several doctors think I was cuckoo, turn me away. yeah, okay, it's just because of this, or it's because of this, or it's because of this. And every time they would do it, it was not that. So then they were like, okay, well, maybe she's a little bit of this. But I wasn't. I was like, I know I'm feeling these pains. I know I'm going through something. I know that this is not right. So I stuck to my gut. I was adamant about myself advocating for my own health care, and having those breasts removed or implants removed was the best thing for me. And honestly, there's people removing those implants that have mold in them, and they have like, I had them in for way too long anyways, because every 10 years you're supposed to take them out and redo them, because they have, your warranty only lasts 10 years and you're just supposed to replace them. However, I would never tell anybody what to do with their body. Don't do this, don't do that, because whatever makes you feel good is your prerogative. It just wasn't right for me. And I knew better because my body was already telling me the signs from the beginning of surgeries. But yeah, they saved my life, and I couldn't be more happy that I did it. So that's my story of crazy surgeries. I know that was a lot, but I don't even think you guys were prepared for how much of a lot it is. I was just doing a quick look of makeup, and I'm putting on this just lip oil. I'm not really doing anything with my life today. I will tell you this. These are super shiny, very, very glittery. I don't know if you can see in this, but they're so, I'm spitting on myself. They're so moisturizing, and they smell delicious. They smell almost like coconutty, but they're so soft and no sticky at all. It's very, very moisturizing. So Rihanna, I need 100 of these stacked. Okay, no thanks. Glad we have the stock. Okay, my little beauties, my diamonds, I love you all. And if you have any questions, or you just whatever want to reach out to me and see about surgeries or any questions, I don't know, I'm an open book, and I've always been that way. But like I said, I hope maybe my story will help some of you guys with your stories. So, or you're maybe on the fence of something and you're like, okay, maybe this solidified it or whatever. So I love you all, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your week, and happy Easter to everybody. If you celebrate, if you don't, I completely understand. But yeah, I hope everybody has an amazing weekend, and I love you all. Talk to you later.